Hi friends. Let's talk about how sober 2024 went. And also, hi, welcome back to my channel if you've been here for a minute, and welcome if you, like me, are essentially new here because it's been such a hot minute since I posted. If you can get from the context clues of this title, I attempted a sober entire year. I think the idea of reevaluating a relationship with alcohol is becoming pretty popular right now. And honestly, as someone who works with the nervous system and brain health, that is amazing. And as someone who is an Enneagram 7 and likes to have fun and adventure and experience different cultures and just a big FOMO kind of person, I'm also like, wait, what? So let's talk about it a little bit. Let's talk about what I learned, how the year went, and let me just fix this lighting really quickly. Okay, I think we can work with this. So, Sober 2024, that is exactly what it sounds like, but also let me explain it even a little bit more. I attempted for the calendar year of 2024 to not consume any alcoholic beverages, to not smoke any weed. Let's talk about how successful those endeavors were. What about weed? At 3 times, I do believe, one of which was at my very first NASCAR race where I consumed a THC drink prior. I probably felt the effects of that at a scale of 2 out of 10 for about 40 minutes. You can count that as breaking sobriety because it technically is, and also, really. And then I believe I took, I only smoked one other time, which was taking one minuscule hit of a joint in a legal state, don't even at me, at a Ludacris concert in Alaska. I'm sorry. Was I not supposed to see Ludacris under the influence of something? Then we have alcohol. Okay, here's the deal, friends. From a sobriety standpoint, I totally failed. From what I wanted to get out of the year in the experiment, I'd call it a wild success because of all that I learned about myself. Did I consume alcohol in the year of 2024? Yes. I will say it wasn't until May, so we're 5 months into the year, dry, not a sip, just raw dog in life. And then my little brother graduated law school, and I thought, man, life isn't black and white. What am I doing here? Now, I don't want to spend much time or any time really in discussing the moralities, the cultural acceptance, the rights and wrongs, the ifs, ands, and buts, the black and whiteness of alcohol, because I think that there is so much nuance there. I don't want to spend any time in that, actually, because I also know that I'm going to interpret it different than someone else who's going to interpret it different than someone else will. So we're not going to talk about that. What I will say is, then my summer, let me cap off the sobriety or non-sobriety recount here. The rest of my summer tapered off pretty sober, with an exception of a 4th of July camping trip, and maintained pretty dry until the fall. And then I don't know if I was just getting tired of the year and I was like, we're almost there, that for some reason it kind of felt like, yeah, I've learned what I have to learn. Do I know that that's true? No. But am I recounting it the way that it went? Yes. And so from about October on, it was, I would probably say, drinking as normal. And by that I mean a couple days a month. So far less than I have in previous chapters of life, for sure. And more than I had intended for the 4th quarter of 2024, for sure. So if you want content from someone who successfully did a completely dry, 100% disciplined 2024, a full 365 days without a sip of alcohol or any sort of influence, this is not the video for you. If you want a little bit of reality and a little bit of what it really felt like to reanalyze my relationship with alcohol and what I learned within myself, then yeah, let's keep talking. I got a couple more things to share. Let's start at the beginning. Let's go with the why. Why the hell did I want to go a year sober? In 2023, I was incidentally sober from alcohol for about 6 months out of the year of 2023. I had done dry January, sober October. I had done Whole 30. I had done 75 hard twice. And by the time 2023 ended, it occurred to me that, oh my gosh, sobriety is kind of great. And I think I want to push my own boundaries and see what does a year feel like. And what I will say is that it felt really fucking good. Now, I added in marijuana because I also want to take this into I want something where I can take out that communicative buffer, that little sip of courage that I wanted to take out something that would take the edge off. I wanted to just confront life the way I was and see how would I navigate situations without an emotional, physical, neural buffer for substances I'd previously used to some regularity, whether it be a couple times a year or a couple times a month, to do exactly that, to take the edge off of my own anxieties and my own self-consciousness and my own fears. And let me tell you the very first thing I fucking learned during this experiment. My confidence has never been better. And this makes sense in a couple different ways. One, because when you don't have the option to have a buffer, you have to go through life without it. And you learn really quickly it's actually not that scary. And then your brain learns how to do that more and more and more. The brain learns how to do something. The more safe it feels, the more familiar it feels, much like a muscle, the easier it is to do. And so I am involved in a couple different organizations that include happy hours and meetings, most of which contain alcohol. And I learned really quickly, I'm awesome and hilarious and intelligent and communicative, and I don't need a beer or two or a glass of wine or two to get any of that across. And B, it's almost easier to not have it. Going out, for example. Not that I go out a lot, but for the nights that I did find myself out at a bar a little bit later in the evening, my go-to drinks would be like the non-alcoholic Heinekens, which non-alcoholic options, that's a whole different video. They're becoming more and more popular. I can talk about my favorites if you'd like that information. Actually, I'll link below. I have this alcohol alternatives that don't taste like shit guide. I'll have that linked below in the information. You can grab that right there. It's free, obviously. So my go-tos at the bar would be like a Heineken Zero or a soda water with lime, because it also then it looks like you're drinking a vodka soda, and not that people really question you much, but hey, why not? I feel like that feeling of something in your hand was half the battle. So why fight all the battles when you don't need to? So I would find going out that as long as I had something in my hand, and it was actually easier to go through the evening, because previously I had experienced this sort of paralyzation of waiting for the drinks to hit so that then I could be confident. And when you go into the evening knowing that's never going to happen because I'm approaching this sober, your only choice was to be confident from the get-go and just not care and just have fun. And when we're not introducing things that are toxic to the brain, that are depressants, then it also is easier for our nervous system to regulate in that moment and have that internal safety, i.e. internal confidence. So to say that was something I didn't know I was going to learn is to say the least. But if that's the only takeaway I got, which to be fair, that's the biggest, most impactful takeaway for me, then that was so worth the attempt of a sober year. One thing I want to discuss is, because I failed at this sober year, one thing I want to discuss is, do I regret it? And here's what I'll say. The drinking at my little brother's law school graduation after party, the taking picklebacks after cheap whiskey with my sister-in-law in some rando's kitchen. No, I don't regret that. I also barely drank that night because I was also the DD. I think I had 3 drinks over 5 hours. The Tex-Mex blended margaritas in a random town while camping in Texas around the 4th of July. No, I do not regret that. The whiskey shot with a bachelorette of one of my best friends in Nashville. No, I do not regret that. The mulled wine while watching Christmas movies and baking cookies. No, I do not regret that. What I will say is, and I'm not one to believe much in regret, what I will say is one of the other massive takeaways is, this does not have to be an absolute conversation. Now, I know that this is a sensitive conversation for some people, and for some people, maybe it needs to be a black and white absolute conversation. For me, and for probably many of us, I don't think it needs to be. And I think that if that right there is what can encourage you to reanalyze your relationship with alcohol, knowing that you don't have to never have it again if you don't want to, again, with the big caveat of knowing that you have safety within your habits of consumption. That right there is amazing, because I learned that I can take it or leave it with such an utter confidence and acceptance that I did not understand previously. There or many other times that I drank between October and December that honestly, I wouldn't say I regret, but realistically didn't bring anything to the evening. I could have not consumed and had an equally as great time. That couple handful that I shared, those, I think that it may be even, and people may argue this, but for me, I think it added a little something to life. And I do not regret drinking those few times. I think I, of course, could have had probably an equally great time without it. And also, I don't know. I look back on that consumption with fond memories, right? And I'm here to be really honest. I don't need you to agree with a damn word I'm saying, but I'm sharing this experience because, again, for someone who I don't necessarily love strong boundaries because that makes me feel confined, and I really value freedom and my own decisions. For someone who played with these boundaries so intently for so long, attempting a year, to learn these takeaways and to move through confidently into 2025 now with such a better understanding of myself and my confidence and my relationship with alcohol, which, if we may, is a fucking poison for the brain. It's a straight up poison. It's very culturally accepted, but it's an actual poison. And I think that it is fair for anyone to want to pause and reevaluate their relationship. And if they just need to hear that, hey, it's still okay to have some every once in a while, for sure, but that still gives them the space to maybe pull back in other situations, then yeah, here's me telling you it's okay to have some. You'll be hard pressed to find me in Europe not consuming alcohol with French bread and cheese in a park, right? You'll be hard pressed for me to go back to Brazil and not have cachaça. Like, I understand. We don't. Again, like I was saying, we're not going to dive into like the history of alcohol consumption in different cultures because I don't know it, to be perfectly honest. And because this is the world in which we live, and it is so normalized in almost every culture, it doesn't need to be a take it or leave it conversation for most of us. And I think that having the ability to pause with myself and know that some of the main reasons I was enjoying alcohol, which was for seeking more confidence, and we didn't even touch on the escapism part, maybe because that wasn't really the way I utilized it, but I know for a lot of people is. But I will caveat that with it gave me a lot more space to actually sit with whatever I was feeling this year by not consuming it because I didn't have that escape. If that's a takeaway someone watching this can have, is that it's worth reanalyzing your relationship with alcohol, and it does not mean that you will never have fun again, then I hope that you take that away. As I'm sitting here, it is the 6th of January, 2025, and I'm doing dry January. So if that's a little token to how great the attempt of Sober 2024 went, that I want to continue with sobriety into January and taking a month off, and I fully intend on embracing Sober October and really sitting with and still accepting and loving the experience of life without alcohol most of the time, you betcha I will be. But am I sure that if I find myself at a NASCAR race again, or, oh, you know what, another time I did have alcohol was at the Alaska State Fair, and I also don't regret that. If I find myself at the Alaska State Fair again, or the Texas State Fair, then yeah, I'm probably going to have a beer. And I don't feel like I'll regret that. But if I feel like I'll need to drink wine or beer at every single marketing thing, every single dinner, or most, or even many of these activities, nah, fam, miss me with that. It wasn't making a big enough impact to consume it compared to the massive impact that it makes to leave it. If you have learned anything from this video, if you have any questions I didn't answer, if you've also been reanalyzing your relationship with alcohol, please just join in conversation below because sometimes this felt really lonely. Most of the people I know who are reanalyzing their relationship with alcohol are my online friends, and that feels a little bit distant when the immediate community around you is still consuming. All that being said, I would still love to hear your input and if you have any sort of similar experience as well. Also, we're back with weekly videos in 2025, so buckle up, we have so much to share. I love you, and I'm happy you're here. Bye.